السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام وكفى بها نعمة. الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام وكفى بها نعمة. الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام وكفى بها نعمة. Inshallah, I believe we are live. I had to figure out how to find the upcoming um, event and play it. So it took me a few minutes to do that. I'm sorry for being late. But if you can see the live feed right now, inshallah, then I will ask you to make comments so I know that you can hear me clear. You can see everything is fine. And inshallah, we can begin with our session, inshallah. So in the top chat or in the chat section, if you can, someone there can post, please post. Let me know you can hear me well, it's streaming well, and inshallah, we can begin with our session. I'm going to be following the chat because in this live stream, we can't do that calling in, at least on this first one. And as I mentioned to you in our introduction, we're going to be working out the logistics of this. So, inshallah, give us your feedback, but also be patient with us as we work these things out to get to the point where we can engage the way we want. But I'm going to be following the chat. So if you have questions, comments, suggestions, or anything that you want to address to us here, then post it in the chat. I'll be reading it, addressing it, as well as discussing our topic. But again, I need for the feedback here to let me know you can see and hear me well, inshallah. All right. I want to thank all of the people, the supporters that's coming out. Alhamdulillah, that's here in this live podcast. And we ask for your continued support, inshallah, as we go forward in trying to make this venue a better, more engaging venue. So, inshallah, if you have, again, with us patience, inshallah, we will make this channel what you're looking for, an engaging, enlightening, fruitful channel, inshallah, to first and foremost defend our faith of Islam from the detractors and those naysayers against it, as well as open up pathways of communication to other people of the faith or people of the non-faith. As we're going to deal with that tonight, inshallah, our topic for tonight is atheism. Why has it become so popular? So we're going to be dealing with this question tonight, inshallah. And we hope, again, that this is just the first of many of this type to come and to bring new, exciting material to you all. So, alhamdulillah, I want to take now a few minutes just to give some shout outs. As I see, Islamic Defense, wa alaikum salam, Design Fox, when you debate David Wood. We'll deal with that, inshallah. We did make the challenge, and we're just waiting for some true feedback on that. But alhamdulillah, check our video on that where we actually met with him personally and offered this challenge. So we can hear you well, alhamdulillah. Speaker's Corners highlights. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Naeem, wa alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah. I want to make a special shout out to my young brother. His channel is called Hypocrites in Their Lies. So for those in the chat room, you see the channel Hypocrites in Their Lies. This is one of our young brothers who we spend time with. He has his channel up, so inshallah, view his channel, support it, subscribe, and give him the attention he needs. As a young brother trying to do the work. Alhamdulillah, may Allah reward him and brothers like him. And there's also some other channels that we're going to be highlighting and identifying as we go along in this series. So inshallah, stay with us and support those brothers in their channels and their work, inshallah, as they also are trying to defend this deen from those who lie and attack it. Alhamdulillah, may Allah reward them. Okay. All right, so we begin, as we always do when we open up, is by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we praise him and we send salutations and prayers upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we praise Allah not only for the fact of our existence, but also for the fact that he has guided us to this beautiful path, this beautiful way of Islam. So we say, Alhamdulillah, ala hadana li hada, wa ma kuna linahtadiya lawla an hadana Allah. That we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guiding us to this path of Islam. And if it was not for his guidance, and indeed we would not have been guided to it. So alhamdulillah for that. And we say, Alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah for the blessing of Islam and the ni'mah to Islam. Wa kafa biha ni'mah. And we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessing of Islam. And sufficient is Islam as a blessing. If we had nothing else in this existence, but we had the deen of Islam, alhamdulillah, we have been given the greatest blessing in this world, in spite of everything else that exists in it. So alhamdulillah, we praise Allah for that. And we praise Allah for our health, we praise Allah for our family, we praise Allah for all of the things that we that bring us joy to our lives and happiness in one way or another. And we're grateful, but we're ultimately grateful for the blessings of Islam. And if we had nothing else, if we had no family, if we had no friends, we had very little means of the world, but we had Islam and enough to sustain our lives, then indeed we have been given the greatest blessing. There's many who have much more material gain and material amassing, but yet they have no Islam. If they die in that state, then they have accomplished nothing in their lives in spite of all of the wealth that they have amassed. So praise be to Allah for that. Brothers is telling me that there's an echo. I don't know exactly where the echo is coming from. And I really don't know how to fix it right now. I hope the echo is not too bad. If it is, then we'll work on that. This is one of the things that we work on. But inshallah, we hope that it's bearable enough to get us through. I don't know how to fix that, and I don't want to lose too much time in that. So your pardon, your forgiveness in that, and inshallah, we will address it at a later time if it's bearable to continue. So the topic I want to discuss in this first podcast is atheism. It's atheism. We're going to do a lot with that, as we mentioned in our introduction video to this, is that we're turning some of the attention that we gave to the likes of David Wood or Christian apologists in the past. Much of that attention we're turning away because we have almost everything they came out with, whether it be my channel, whether it be other channels that's out there, many channels out there doing the defense of Islam, alhamdulillah, and they're gaining more, alhamdulillah, and Allah bless us in our efforts. But what we find is that it's just redaction. They're repeating the same old things we have been repeating for years, and we're losing too much time and energy on these guys. For those who are interested in really seeing the reputations of the likes of David Wood and other guys, then on this channel, Radush Shubuhaat, we did a series, the 15 biggest lies that David Wood exposed and refuted. Other channels have done work in refuting him. So see those channels, see those videos, see the blogs, articles that's out there that has defended and refuted these arguments. But enough with chasing these people and they just chasing their own tails. We need to move on and be a little bit more productive with time and energy. So we're changing our shift somewhat. We're taking it away from chasing the same old lies and attacks against Islam, and dealing with something that's relatively new and causing, I think, a much more difficult time on our young brothers and sisters in the faith, and that's atheism. Many of our young brothers and sisters grow up with Islam. The education is not where it needs to be. The firmness and the understanding and belief of the Muslims has not been given to them, unfortunately. And they go to college, they go to higher levels of education, and they are confronted with challenges about their faith. They're told that there is no God. They're told all of these lies that they find from some of people they respect. So we want to attack these issues and inshallah give our young brothers and sisters or our new Muslims something to defend themselves with from our teachings, as well as expose and highlight the fallacies in doctrines or things that's being pushed, movements like the atheist movement and the like. So tonight, inshallah, we want to deal with atheism, and I want to give us here a list of questions or points that we're going to be dealing with as time go on. We won't deal with all of these tonight. It is a lot, and we want, inshallah, in a follow-up video, is to produce some of the topics that we're going to deal with in our podcast. So you can actually see the date as well as time that we're going to be dealing with in each podcast. And if sometimes you may not be able to join every session, at least those sessions that's relative to you in particular or catches your interest in a greater way than other topics, then at least you'll be aware of those topics and dates, and you can make yourself readily available to attend and enjoy that particular session. So let us go through some of the things that we're going to cover in the future, and then highlight the things we're going to cover tonight, and then leave it to you to ask some questions, some comments, and then let's address these things that go along, inshallah. We may stay about maybe another half an hour to an hour, maybe closing at around 12 our time. That's about 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and the other time zones, I don't know exactly where you are, but inshallah, try to keep on a fair time schedule. We may spend about an hour and a half per session. When we start to 2 hours, and then we will conclude. At some points, one, what we're going to be dealing with tonight is what is atheism? What actually is the definition and really its historical relevance or modern historical relevance? What is theism? Theism is the opposite of theism. So as we're going to define when we talk about atheism, we're going to see that atheism is actually an opposite, an antagonistic approach to theism. So one knowing one, then one should also be acquainted with the other. Is the claim of atheists stronger than that of theists? And this is the two-point question. The second question is their claim a scientific fact? Is their claim a scientific fact? So first is the atheist makes a claim that there is no God. They don't believe in God. The idea of God is a non-reality, and God does not exist. Some uncreated creator that created everything but is not seen and not heard and not tangible enough to them to declare to be true, are their claim against this idea stronger than that of theists who actually do believe in God and proclaim it quite readily and quite firmly, as Muslims do? And is their claim a scientific fact? So when we look at the idea of scientific facts, is it empirical? Can we measure God? Can we hear God? Can we see God? Can we touch God? Can we talk to God, encounter God? And if not, if none of those things are available to us and to our senses and to anything that we can use to communicate, then does God really exist? And that's the question that atheists like to pose to the Muslims or Christians or Jews or any people who have a faith in God. that question is also one that we're going to deal with. Another question that will be a topic for a later podcast is theism a choice of the weak-minded? Many attack the idea of people believing in God as being weak-minded, something you need a crutch to hold on to. So you believe in this whole fairy of the Father in the sky or something like this along these lines. This is not the Muslims' perspective. We don't believe in a Father in the sky idea, but we do believe in that God is unseen in his essence, but very seen and very manifest in his actions. That being the case, we don't believe at all that it's from the weak-minded. Rather, many of the most celebrated and thorough and intellectuals of history has been people of faith. That's irrespective of any particular faith. You had them amongst the Christians, you had them amongst the Jews, you had them amongst the Muslims, you had amongst other people of faith, very strong-minded, intellectual, astute people who believed in God. So the idea that someone is weak-minded because they believe in an unseen entity, I think, is fallacious in his argument at onset. But we will address it in detail when we get there. A follow-up question is that maybe the theists will want to pose, at least I know I would want to pose to the atheists. Is atheism a choice for those scared of moral responsibility? So, as the atheists attack the theists for being weak-minded, then at least myself and I'm sure other theists would attack and address the atheists as being scared of moral responsibility with the idea of weakness. So just as you make the claim that we're weak-minded because we believe in an unseen being that is responsible for ultimately everything that exists, then we make to you that we believe you are scared of moral responsibility and you get yourself from it by dismissing the idea of an existence of God, because with God comes moral responsibility. So this is a question that we will unpack, and we hope that many will attend that session and join us in this conversation. Next is, who gave you the right to have rights? And this is a question that wrestles in my own mind that I'd like for atheists to address, because the second part of this question is rights versus justice. When you look at the idea of atheism, you look or you lose the idea of authority and moral authority in particular. So if you are someone who don't believe in God, then authority and morality becomes arbitrary. There's no authority of one or superiority of one to say my way is right and your way is wrong. But the question is, who gave you, as an atheist, the right to have a right, the right to have rights? Because if there's no moral authority and there's no God to legislate what is indeed moral and what is not, then who gave you that right to claim the rights of something for yourself or for others? So we want to examine this idea of rights versus justice, because if you claim the right, then you have to also believe in the type of justice, and that justice is justice that won't only prevail in this world, it's justice that will also prevail in the other world. And if it doesn't, and it doesn't prevail in this world, then that means that a person can live their entire lives having unjust actions acted upon them with no eternal possibility of redressing those wrongs. I would say for such a person, and for also such a person who oppressed them, what a waste of life. So we want to examine this. Who gave you the right to have rights as atheists? And let's look at the concept of rights versus justice. Next topic. Can everything that exists be proven empirically? So because I can bring to you in a picture in front of you, or somehow in a way that you can tangibly interact or encounter this entity or this thing, then does that mean that it does not exist? Just because I can't bring it to you in front of you, does it mean that now, because I can't do that, that the matter or the entity or the thing does not exist? So this is something that we want to look at. Can everything that exists be proven empirically? And are there things that even atheists believe in in our existence that they can't prove empirically, that they can't touch, is not tangible, and they can't prove it except through the effects of something? And if they claim it, that it's proof through its effects, even though we can't see it and we can't touch it and we can't measure it and we can't do these things, then they have to submit to the fact that just as they have things or ideas or beliefs that they believe in that they can't see, then they have to accept that reality also exists for others. And if they don't, then it's arrogance and it's double standard that we can't take seriously from them. Next one is, does or lack thereof prove or disprove intelligence? So the idea that when we see something in existence and it has a perfect design, or we see something that has absolutely no design, does it prove or don't prove in one way or another the idea or reality of intelligence? If I see an automobile that's perfectly put together with everything in place, is that proof that that automobile was designed by someone with a mind and intelligence? And if I seen something that was called an automobile, but everything in it was backwards and reversed and it was non-functioning, or it seemed to be non-functional or had no function at all, is that proof that that thing was designed by someone with no intelligence? So when we look into the creation, and I don't want to unpack this topic right now, but when we look at the creation and we see that there's a perfect design, that we can even predict sunrise and sunset and moonrise and moonset, and all of these phenomena to predict lunar eclipse and solar eclipse and so many things that we can predict in nature with the accuracy that is done, is that in fact a proof of design and creation? So if there's a design in creation, that further proof of intelligence behind the creation. So this is something that we want to look at. And if we see things that has no design, lack of design, is that a proof of lack of intelligence? This is what we want to also take a look at one time. Next, must I be able to prove it in order for me to believe it? Is it possible for me to believe in something even though I can't prove it to you? And when we say prove it again, we mean prove it in an empirical way. But is it possible for me to believe in something even though I can't prove it to you? Now, with modern science, many things can now be proven or at least given greater confirmation than existed in previous times. But if you take, let's say, 500 years ago, before they had the whole idea of DNA testing, and that one is related to the other through a DNA test. If an atheist comes up to me 500 years ago and say, well, you can't prove God exists, I say, okay, you can't prove your mother is your mother. He said, well, sure I can, it's my mother. I said, well, how do you know it's your mother? She told you she's your mother, and everyone around you told you that's your mother, but can you actually prove that's your mother or that's your father, which is even more difficult challenge, God forbid. But can you prove these are your parents with proof? What do you have other than a belief? Now you can say, yeah, I can take a DNA test and I can prove it, but right now, how many of you who are atheists actually took a DNA test to prove your parents are your parents? And if you have not yet taken a DNA test to prove that fact, then how do you know for sure that the ones you call mother and father are indeed your parents? How do you know? Can you prove it? Yet you believe it. So this is something along these lines we want to engage and have people who claim that, well, if I can't prove it or I can't see it, I don't believe in it. No, we don't believe that to be the case. We believe this is just some games playing, and inshallah we will expose them for what they are and what it is. All right. And the last one we have on the list, but it's definitely not the last question. But is the question is science the only method for understanding and defining reality? Is science the only method for understanding and defining reality? So when we look at reality and we look at how do we understand things, the way things work, is science as we know it today the only method by which we can understand and define our reality as it exists? And no, it's not. Actually, science is ever changing, so it might not even be one of the strongest methods when we look at other intelligence in our creation. But nonetheless, as it relates to something physical and tangible, then science is used, is very heavily relied upon. But we don't believe it's the only method by which we can measure and define reality. If that's the case, then we have to open up the possibilities that even science has its limits in defining and measuring and for our understanding of reality. And if we admit that science has limits, then that means that there are some things outside of the human limits of understanding and defining reality, which opens the door for the possibility that God exists, even in a hypothetical notion. So these are some of the points that we're going to be dealing with in later podcasts. Again, we will make a video, inshallah, and we'll highlight each point and when we can expect these points to be dealt with, the dates, inshallah. We mentioned that we would try to do this podcast at least twice a month. So it seems that Saturday is a favorable day and a possible day to engage podcast due to our schedule. So inshallah, we hope that we can continue along this line and give you something to work with in terms of our schedule. So now, let us get to the idea of atheism, our topic for tonight. We gave our introduction. We'd like to hear from you, inshallah, in the comment section, and we will take up your questions, inshallah. So quickly, the idea of atheism, again, it comes from the word, a Greek word, theos, which means God, and many Christians would know this because it's a big argument in their belief about who is God and what is God. But this Greek word comes from theos, and so theism is the belief in a theos, the belief in a God. Atheism, in some words in English, take from other languages, put the letter A in front of it, it gives the opposite meaning. So atheist is the opposite of a theist. You have theist first, you put A in front of it, it becomes atheist. So now it means one who is not a believer in the idea of God. For instance, you have the word symmetrical. We know symmetrical means something that it's equal in its in all aspects. If you say something is asymmetrical, it means it's off balance. It's not lined up correctly. So we have this usage of the letter A being placed in front of a word with the opposite meaning. So theism is the belief in a deity, God. A theist is one who believes in God, whatever that belief may be. It's not limited to a particular system, whether it be Judaism or Christianity or Islam or Buddhism, but any idea and the belief of God or multiple gods, still they believe in the God concept. So we call it a theist. Well, an atheist is one who, according to their understanding, and we welcome them to come, and if we're incorrect in any way, if we're misrepresenting what they believe, then we challenge them, we welcome them, we invite them to come and explain for us what they believe about God or what they don't believe about God. But technically speaking, linguistically speaking, an atheist is who is antithetical to the idea of God. So this is what is being pushed now. And the question for tonight is, why has it become so popular? Why has atheism become so popular? The question, I want to mention it before I forget, but someone asked the question, is atheism mentioned in the Quran? Is atheism mentioned? I have a section in the Quran that I want to read. I'm glad they asked this question because I have a section in the Quran that I want to read. It's a very beautiful section, and it defines atheism to the T. It's an amazing selection of verses that I want to read, and I hope that when we finish this series, we become empowered by the Quran, because Allah addresses everything in the Quran, all type of arguments from all walks of faith, all type of different denominations from those faiths in their doctrines and their beliefs, in some way or another, subtly or overtly, it's dealt with in the Quran, and in a beautiful way, challenging them back to the pure monotheism, back to the true belief and understanding of God as was intended from God from the beginning of time. So yes, atheism as a concept, not as a definition or a word, is mentioned in the Quran, and we will read that for you shortly. But the question is, why has atheism become so popular? Why has it become so popular? Excuse me. So when we look at today's time, especially mass communication, global communication, social media, and these likes, but the ability to move a concept or idea in such a short period of time has been a phenomenal method by which not only atheism has become so popular, but many other fads and trends have caught on very fast, and has taken a very rapid approach in becoming popular amongst the masses. So we as believers in God and as Muslims, we see that social media and global communication has it was called a double-edged sword. It can serve for you and also serve against you, because now someone can take a lie and they can post it, and that lie can reach out into the world in a press of a button. And it's interesting because there's a hadith that is authentic, and we'll bring the hadith in another setting, another session. But the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that it will come, one of the signs in time is that a person would say something of a lie, and it will go across the horizon like in the twinkle of an eye. Just this hadith alone, if its authentication is verified, is enough proof to awaken us to the reality that there's some serious prophetic anecdotes for us to consider coming from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But with social media, with global communication, and also the advancement of materialism and capitalism, because some of the major components of capitalism are starch, believers in God, like the Republican sector of the American political realm. But they are heavy believers in capitalism. Capitalism with materialism is one of the biggest proponents of atheism, because now what is the focus is not God, but what I can acquire and what I can amass. And everything is related to or regulated down to things. The focus now is things, not the creator of things, but rather my focus is in the dunya. So because of this, and it's something that's attractive and appealing. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said in another prophetic tradition hadith, he said that the hellfire is surrounded by things of delight and pleasurable and easy things. and the paradise is surrounded by things that are difficult and of hardship. Why? Because it takes effort to get to your goal. No one can get to their goal by sitting around doing nothing. So if your goal is to achieve God, which is the highest success, then it's going to take work, it's going to take effort, it's going to take endeavor and struggle. But if your goal is nothing in life and just to enjoy yourself and take your desires, as may God protect us all from that. And in a verse that we're going to read, we will see something along these lines hinted to. But one of my assessments of why I believe atheism has become so popular is because it goes hand in hand with materialism, and also in this movement of um, global communication, social media, and just a rejection of seeing also the suffering that people are experiencing in the world. We see that is turning many people away from religion. Many questions that people have are not being answered. And many religious people, whether it be any walk of faith, are not standing to the challenge to demand answers questions that many of our youth have to deal with these challenges that's facing them. And I tell you from my own experience, because many who know my background know that in my younger age, in my teenage years, I used to be atheist because life did not make sense to me. I did not understand many things about life. I had a very inquiring mind and I wanted to understand, but no one was there that gave me a copy of the Quran and said, read it. Just read it. And what do you have to lose? And upon doing that, I read it. And from that point, I couldn't stop reading it. Alhamdulillah. So these realities that confront our youth, and then these youth are on these social groups pushing each other into this fad and that fad. I think that this is one of the reasons why we find atheism is becoming so popular. It's not because it's so logical and it's so profound that people are adopting it because of that. No, quite the opposite. It's not profound at all. It's very illogical, but nonetheless, in absence of having answers, and then also seeing the suffering that takes place in the world under the name of religion, the killing that takes place under the name of religion, the atrocities and the manipulation and the cheating that taking place under the name of religion. I think many people, especially our youth, are becoming turned off by it and leaving the idea of God and religion and turning to something a little bit more freer, a little bit less responsible. And this is why atheism appeals to them because it's the idea of I'm completely free. God is not in my life. I don't have anyone to answer to, and it's something that is appealing to the youth and catching, I think, the attention of many through these social groups. So this is my assessment in brief of why I think it's becoming so popular. You can give your feedback here. I will go to some comments and read them, and inshallah, we see we go from there. One brother, he says, atheism is popular because of no morals and no need for good manners. So it's something along the lines where we said that yes, when it's actually our slavehood to God alone that makes us free from the world. Opposite to be the case in the lives of these people. It's actually their freedom that they have distanced themselves from God that caused them in turn to be a slave of their own desires, their own passions, their own intellects, their know-it-all, their own drive and fads. So when you look at their lifestyle, you see actually they are quite instant to their lifestyle, to money, to wealth, to this and that, while the Muslims hope that our slavehood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has freed us from the shackles of materialism and this dunya. So yes, that's one of the reasons why we think it's becoming popular, because you free yourself from roles and responsibilities and you have no one to answer to except your own desires. And that's always a pleasant place to be for someone of desire. Islamic defense, he says, if they don't believe in God or afterlife, then what's the point of leaving Islam when they will die? They don't believe in punishment or anything. They can stay Muslim and take their chances. So it's a good question. Some people who used to be Muslim, they left Islam and became atheists. So the point is, well, why don't you just remain a Muslim because you're leaving Islam to believe in nothing? So if you're a Muslim, at least you give yourself better odds when you die. So it is. But some people, their conviction, when they find something that they can no longer hold on to as being true, they leave it, and that's their choice. But the question is, did they really assess Islam, and did they really assess atheism or any other doctrine before leaving Islam? Um, Speakers corners. Atheism is popular in my view because every generation has a position, fashion, which forms a status symbol at that time. Today's status symbol. Science also is heavily played in the popularity of atheism because you find science as a push to the idea that we don't need God because we have evolution, we have something in place that kind of rids us of the idea of God. So who needs God when we have science that serves the same purpose? And also the whole idea that if there's a God who's loving and he's kind, he's merciful, and he's compassionate, he's then why do you have the sufferings and the hardships and the poverty and the murder and the of having this God with all these great qualities? So this is something that we will deal with. Um, but this is a good question. It's a question that I wrestled with for a long time before uh, I began to see the reality of the matter. That my vision was very short-sighted. That's a good question. And while on this note, I want to introduce, we did article. It's about 24 pages or so. It's called A Debate About Life. And this Debate About Life article in it is it goes like this. There was a gentleman who walked into a room, like after you have like a college lecture, the professor gives a lecture, and after the lecture is over, there's still people hanging around at the end talking about the lecture or other things. So there was a young man who walked into a room, a setting like this. There were some people in the room debating, and they didn't know he entered, and he was intrigued by what he was hearing, so he sat down in the corner and just listened to the debate. And then after he listened to it, he later on told about what happened in that debate. So in the debate, there was an atheist, there was a Christian, there was a Muslim, there was an agnostic, there was different people there, and they were all discussing their points of view about life. He tells it all in his debate, and we're trying to get this article into something more, get it to the masses. And in it, it addresses atheism in a heavy way because the people they are arguing for and against it. So I think that it's something that you will enjoy, inshallah. So make dua for us that's given tawfiq from Allah, success, and we're able to get that to you in an appropriate and professional way, inshallah. Um, it says they don't believe in justice. So it's a good point. If you're an atheist, then the idea of justice is a problem for you because how do you define justice when there's no moral authority? So there's something we have. This is one of the points that we're going to discuss, and we mentioned it there as well. Man, so science can be inconsistent. Indeed, so this is one of the things that many Muslims have to be careful about, especially when, for instance, we try to use science as the method to prove Islam. My brothers and sisters, never try to use science to prove Islam. Science is not there to prove Islam. Islam proves itself. We don't need science to prove or authenticate or validate Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already validated and authenticated and verified the proof of Islam in the Quran that indeed this day have He perfected for you your religion, and His favor upon you, and His chosen Islam for you as your way of life. And He also said that indeed the religion with God is Islam. And He also said that whoever has a path of a way of life other than Islam, it will never be accepted from him. And then hereafter, he will be from amongst those who will lose, the Khasirun. So, validation of Islam is already given. We don't need science to prove it. And when we try to use science to prove something in Islam, it backfires because then someone can try to use science to disprove Islam. Science is inconsistent and is ever changing. The science of today in the 21st century is not the science of yesterday in the 20th century, or the 19th, 15th, or the 13th, or the 10th century. So, because science is ever changing, as they learn new things, change their prognosis or hypotheses about different things, then when those things change, now we have to reevaluate what we're looking at or try to use as proof to justify the Quran and the Sunnah. No, science is good to look at. It's good when things are clearly provable through science, and to bring corroboration with Islamic texts that gives some physical or biological or scientific expression, but don't try to use science to prove Islam, because science is ever changing and it is inconsistent. And you can't take something inconsistent to prove the reality of Islam and the reality of God. So that's a very good point. I thank you for that. Um, um, Good point. Says the Quran is a book of signs, not a book of science. Design Fox. So it's a very good point. As the ayat means signs. The verses they say verses in English, but and they call it ayat, and it means signs. So each verse is a sign that's given from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. We find repeatedly in the Quran Allah ayatihi, ayatihi. So from amongst His ayat, from amongst His signs, this. So yes, the Quran is a book of signs. It's not a book of science. When it mentions something of the scientific realm, it's mentioned it as a sign. But science cannot disprove the Quran, because science is not absolute. It is ever changing. So when someone says, "Oh, this doesn't agree with science," whose science to agree with in the first place? So we should not use try to use science to prove Islam. But if we see that there is strong evidence for these scientific theories or propositions to be useful, then we can look at it as a corroboration, but not that we need to prove anything. Uh, if a man kills in more than one, then half the all can burn many times. But in this world, that killer can only be killed once. Uh, I'm I'm not really understanding the question, so we'll send it again. We rephrase it. Can't answer the why question, which is very important because science actually is there only to tell us how, but it doesn't tell us why. So, in absence of knowing why, we know how we exist. We know what we're made of. We know the elements of our body and what we're composed of. But why do we exist? Why do we exist? And we ask atheists, why do you exist? He can tell you about his life and having a job. This is not why you exist. You don't exist to have a good job. Because what happens if you have a good job? Your life is irrelevant now. You don't have a big house, so your life is irrelevant. You don't have a big car. You don't have the American dream or something along these lines. So now does your life become useless and waste because you don't acquire the material gains that makes you successful? So if this is the definition of why it exists, many people exist with absolutely no purpose. And what kind of life is that? So I mean, these why questions are what drive atheists crazy, and we will bring something else. Hopefully, as we come into this setting, because this podcast, the name of it is called Makan al-Aqil. Makan al-Aqil, which means the place of reason. And it's a play on words because my name is Aqil. So I'm saying this is my place. Come to my place, sit down with me, spend time with me, talk to me, enjoy me, conversate with me. Let's rap, whatever you want to do. So it's like it's like an invitation and a nice way to play on words. So come to my place and let's talk. But the place of reason, because akal means the one of ration, the rational one, the one sane. It's not crazy. So yes, we want to bring some atheists here, and inshallah try to talk some sense into them. Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. So it's 11:30. I want these verses to you, give you some things to think about. Take these verses, keep them dear to your heart. They're very profound yet from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And inshallah, we will close down with these verses. And alhamdulillah, thank Allah for this thing. We hope everyone enjoyed it. And inshallah, we look to have many more in the future. These ayat, they found in the 45th chapter of the Quran, Surah Jathiyah. Surah Jathiyah. Verses 22 to 27. And I'll just read the English translation, just for time constraints. And verse 22, and Allah created the heavens and the earth in truth, so that every soul may be recompensed for what it has earned, and they will not be wrong. When you go back and read these verses, reflect deeply. I mean, Allah challenges in the Quran to, when we read the Quran, to not just read it as, we know that when we recite the Quran, there's reward just reciting it, because there's something in the Quran for us to take and put into our lives, and you don't get that if you're just reading it for a bad, you don't understand what you're reading. So, chapter 45, and when you talk to atheists, just bring these verses and tell them to reflect. Listen to the dictation of this Quranic message and what it's saying, and how it actually has pinpointed their internal reality of how they perceive life. So again, and Allah has created the heavens and the earth in truth, and so that every soul may be recompensed for what it has earned, and they will not be wrong. This world is a test ground, and one day you're going to be held accountable for everything you've done here. So this is our reality. We're not here to amass materials. We're here to live our lives in a way that God has ordained, to the best of our abilities, and return back to Him for record, either for us or against us. That's the essence of our existence. It goes on to have you seen He who has taken as His God, whether they're your own or they are those of someone else. So, in your own logic, say you're jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. If you claim Islam is false reason, then you're leaving it only to follow something even lower than Islam. Be reminded, and this is why when I opened up, I praise Allah for the guidance of Islam. It continues, and they say, and listen to this very closely, because I want you to take that and tell me, is this not exactly what you hear from these atheists and people like them? This is their Allah is exposing their internal reality. It says, the translation, and they say there is not a worldly life. There's nothing but this worldly life. We die and we live, and nothing destroys us except time. We die and we live, and nothing destroys us except time. And they have of that no knowledge. They are only assuming. Continues, verse 25. And when our verses are recited to them as clear evidence, their argument is that they say, bring back our forefathers if you should be truthful. You want to impress me? You want to show me or prove to me that God exists and is the next world, whatever it is? Bring someone back that went there and let them testify to the fact. So Allah has already declared that this is their statement on over 14 centuries ago. These people are saying nothing new. But it's an amazing articulation that's found in the Quran, and we can expose them for their beliefs because it's new to God Almighty. It continues to say, Allah causes you to live, then causes you to die. Then he will assemble you for the day of resurrection, about which there is no doubt. But most of the people do not know. And to Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and the day the hour appears, that day the falsifiers will lose. SubhanAllah. So these are some verses from the Quran. Again, chapter 45, verses 22 to 27. So read them, reflect upon them. Allah commands us about the Quran to make tadabbur, to ponder deeply about this Quran, this book. So take these verses, ponder over them, and read them, and enlighten atheists about his own internal reality. Maybe initially he may argue with you, but when he go back to himself and he's talking to himself, he's doing maybe a little soul searching, these ayats will come back to him, and he will realize that, something, this is exactly what I feel inside, and maybe I'm mistaken about this. May Allah guide him. Wishful thinking, value disguise as science. Good point. Objective decision. Atheism equals wishful thinking, badly disguised as science. So, alhamdulillah. Again, brothers, this is what we wanted to share. If you have any more comments, you can spend some time covering them. To follow videos highlighting our schedule and the topics that we're going to be discussing. We thank all the brothers and sisters and all the people who came out. Thank the Muslims, the non-Muslims, our supporters, our detractors, our friends, our enemies. Everyone is welcome here. So feel free. Just be civil, be respectful, and come and enjoy yourself, and let's have some dialogue. Alhamdulillah. Our channel, Radush Shubuhaat. We hope that if you have not already subscribe to it, pass it on, share it with your friends, and tell them to come. Invite them when the schedule goes up of our scheduled topics and the dates. To tell them to come. Everyone is welcome. We want to hear. So, alhamdulillah, this is what we want to present. If there's nothing else, then we will close now. And we look forward to the next session, inshallah. We hope this will be put up also on the channel. For those who did miss it, they can see it later. And inshallah, there's some benefit. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Yes, brothers, I know there's some challenges with the sound, so I'm not a technician with these videos. I'm not very well at making videos. I have some dear support that when we do our videos, they do all the editing and stuff like this. So, alhamdulillah, we will address this, inshallah, the sound, and try to make sure next time there's no echoing, the sound quality is good. We're also looking at a venue in which people can call in. Something that we want, to have. How we will do that, Allah is best to try to put this option, and people can call in and have a live discussion. And we want to open it up. We want this place to be a place that people come feel welcome and enjoy it, and learn and benefit, and share. So, alhamdulillah, all are welcome. We're not running from anyone, and we're not turning anyone away. Unless you don't know how to be civil and respectful, then you're not welcome. So if you come in a civil way and respectful, even if you disagree, it's okay. We have no problem with anyone disagree with us. We're not afraid of your disagreement. We're not afraid of the opposition. Alhamdulillah, we are confident and firm on what we believe in, and all are welcome. So invite whoever wants to come. But again, just given the rules of having courtesy and manners. And if you have that, then I mean, if the devil wants to come and he's respectable and civil, he's welcome. Come, we refute him too. So it's no problem. But invite whoever you wish, but just with the courtesy, inshallah. For the brothers who are giving us salam, making dua for us, alhamdulillah, jazana wa yak, alhamdulillah. What happened to your debate? Okay, so my brother asked this earlier, and I said I would address it quickly. A few months back, David Wood had a debate with our dear brother and colleague and teacher, Muhammad Hijab, and alhamdulillah, Muhammad Hijab a very good job of the debate and exposing David Wood and refuting him, and that he's been repeating for so long. So alhamdulillah, but after the debate, I got a chance to have some one-on-one conversation with David Wood, and I recorded those conversations with his knowledge and permission. No problem. He didn't have a problem with it. So we posted it. I challenged him to a debate for him to bring any topic that he wanted to discuss, and I would bring any topic that I wanted to, and we would agree upon these topics and have a debate on it. He agreed. The video is on my channel. Take a look at it, and you can see it. But since then, I have not heard back from him. Um, so I will do a follow up with him and see if this debate challenge that he accepted still a go. And if it is, then we would try to work something out to at least finalize and conclude our with the debate. I think that would be most appropriate. We hope that the challenge for him is still one that he will take up, and we see what happens, inshallah. But right now, we're changing our focus from spending a lot of time chasing him when it's clear that he's repeating the same thing over and over again, and he has been refuted upon it several times. So we wanted to shift our focus and focus on something more relevant and new. This is what we're doing, and inshallah, we ask Allah to give success in that. Inshallah. Okay, so alhamdulillah, I think this is a good thing. A little bit over an hour time wise, but alhamdulillah. Again, we're glad the brothers made it out, sisters, whoever joined, the people made it out. And thank you for your support. Um, objective incision, he said, regarding atheism. If the brain came together with unconscious matter, then the atheist is indirectly stating that his or her intelligence is of no intelligent origin. So basically, they don't have any sense, huh? So, alhamdulillah. I think David Wood is still an atheist, and he's too scared of the truth, too scared of to debate, brother Arthur. So Allah knows best, but we see a lot of these atheists are a part of the LGBT community. And that may be true. I don't know their personal preference or orientation. I did a video. We did like a seminar on different topics. Is the Sharia relevant in the 21st century modern times? And what is the position of Muslims on the LGBT community? So I think there's a letter they added now to LGBTQ community. I guess they're gonna keep on coming up with new things to add onto it. This is worse. Any case, we did address this. So if you haven't seen the video, go to Radush Shubuhaat and look up the video we did. What is the position of Muslims in relation to the LGBT community? What we hold the position to be on that, inshallah. So, it's not the first time we did a live video. We did a couple of live videos in the past, but it's the first live stream like this in front of the camera. The other times was just audio we couldn't see. But it was live and we had the questions and answers. But there's a couple of live stream videos in the channel. You can go back and check them, inshallah. I think it's posted up there. All right, brothers, inshallah, I'm going to close now. Alhamdulillah. Again, thank you all for coming out and look forward to your participation in upcoming. And also, you think about some of the topics we mentioned. And if you have any topics that you want to suggest yourself, then in the video which we want to post that highlights the schedule, then in the comments section, put some suggestions you have. And we try, inshallah, to read those comments in those sections and in a section and put some of those ideas as part of our agenda, inshallah. All right, brothers, alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.